Hi, this is Tim from fititmidlife.com, and today we're going to compare the Nike Metcon 6 with the Reebok Nano X or Nano 10 in great detail. These are the two newest functional fitness style cross-trainer shoes for the year 2020. How do they stack up after a couple weeks of testing? That's what we're going to talk about, so stick around. All right, so let's dive in. Let's take a look at these two shoes. So first of all, this is an in-depth comparison side by side of the two with all my thoughts on my testing so far. So if you've already watched the Metcon 6 video, if you've already watched the Nano X video, you know, there's going to be a lot of repetition here. But the idea is maybe you've narrowed down your search to one of these two shoes. You want to see it in depth, up close, because quite frankly, it's hard to go to a store and find somewhere where you could actually try both of these on, right? That's not always easy to do. So anyways, that's the purpose of what we're going to do here. So with that caveat out of the way, let's compare side by side. Let's start with the outsole, if for no other reason than, let's start from the bottom. The both have all rubber outsole, very flat. You can see that there is kind of some flex grooves done in different ways on both shoes, but both are, I call this like an indoor gym tread pattern. It is not like meant for trail running or in the mud or anything like that. Maximum contact area and very, very grippy, right? Because you don't want your feet slip sliding around when you're lifting weights, when you're doing box jumps, jumping rope, all that kind of stuff. Some obvious differences though. So you can see the flex grooves on the Metcon 6 up in the front there. And you've got, they do things differently on the Nano. There's the meta split that go, along the length of the shoe, but there's obviously this waffle-like pattern across the rest of the outsole. Biggest difference, you'll notice there's this big split here and there's kind of this disconnect in the back. This is what Reebok calls a decoupled outsole. So the idea being that as you heel strike when you're running with the shoe, the split there and here helps reduce some of the shock that otherwise would travel to the rest of the foot. So decoupled outsole. I believe they are also claiming here with the Nano 10 or Nano X that it is a decoupled midsole as well. And I can't tell you if that's the case because the midsole's on the inside. I can't see it. I can tell you can't really feel any particular difference from last year's shoe. So if there is a decoupled midsole new for this year, it does not make any sort of difference in the way the shoe feels, in my opinion. Looking at the Metcon 6, what's interesting here? Well, this is a wide diamond-shaped heel. That is a feature that, they've carried forward from the Metcon 5. It was basically the same thing. Tread pattern, by the way, exactly the same as the Metcon 5. One of the hallmarks of the sole of the Metcon line, though, is they use two different kinds of rubber. So RS001 rubber in the back, 004 sticky rubber up front, and more firm and durable and better stability for weightlifting in the heel, but stickier rubber up front for better traction, better grip. And with this pair of shoes, I actually think this is the first time you can see the difference between the rubber, because when these came out of the box, the whole thing was the same color. You can see up front, though, clearly the front part has picked up more grit and grime and sand and dirt and gotten stuck in the rubber. It's noticeably darker. So I feel like for the first time ever, I've got visual confirmation that the the rubber in the forefoot is indeed different rubber compound. Not that I didn't believe Nike, but seems like there's proof there now. Other things on the outsole, massive rope wrap, right? It's got a pattern on it, great for grip, great for rope climbing, massive on both sides. On the Nano, you've got Rope Pro returns, Rope Pro, right? So the rubber outsole wraps up a little bit around the upper. Got this really super tough rubber protection wrap as well. This keeps the rope friction off of the more delicate upper, and ditto on this side, right? Very strong, very tough. So how about heel width? You know, we like to say the 6 has a nice wide, supportive, stable heel, but you know, the Nano's no slouch either. I mean, look at that. It looks the same to me, like spot on the same. So both are wide and supportive. Both have laces. I love me some laces. I don't like the laceless quick lacing system they did on the Nike React Metcon. Laces work, right? You can tie them as tight or not as tight as you like. The 6 sees the return of flywire. These little Vectran filaments wrap around the base of the laces, but you can see here they actually run all the way through the body of the shoe, helps tighten things up, keeps things really secure. So it's cool. I like it. It's lightweight, doesn't add a whole lot. There's nothing wrong with what the Nano has done with their lacing system, though. So they've got laces, you tighten the laces, nothing magical in particular happening inside, and it works. It feels plenty tight. One thing you'll see in a comparison clip later on, the upper on the Nano is much more stretchy and flexible, and the tongue is flexy and stretchable too. So that is new for this year. The Nano last year did not have that. It's very comfortable. It feels good. I like that I can wiggle my toes around. Some people have commented feels like the shoe's not as stable because of that. Me personally, I cannot say that I've experienced that. The upper on the 6 is different than what they used last year. Very large perforations. You can see my fingers there. The holes are gigantic, right? Got to be better ventilation. And it's still very thick. So you see the thickness of the material. This is still very tough. This isn't like mesh that's going to get ripped up and fail quickly. I think it's going to be a very durable shoe. You can see along the front, there's an extra layer of material, even tougher along the inside of the toe, all the high wear areas. Tongue is not, it looks consistency. It's got the same pattern. It is not see-through breathable though. And the tongue on the Nano is beefier. It's got kind of these side pieces. The only complaint I have about the Nano X is as far as the tongue, if you see where the bolsters end, like if I tighten this too much, that part, you can really feel that digging into your instep. Or that top of your foot, I think that's what that's called. So you have to be careful about how you tie them. Would be better if this part, this little cushion pad, should have ran further down further where the laces are. Maybe it's just how it fits me. And it's a minor thing because it always tells me, hey, you have tightened the laces too much, so loosen them up a little bit. Looking at the heels and the collars, you can see that, this is a much bigger, taller collar area, right? It's got this Achilles pad back here. It's comfortable. That's a nice material. The tongue comes up higher. And this overall feels more streamlined, to be honest, on the 6. It feels like you're wearing less shoe. Feels like you're wearing more shoe because it's taller. There's more to it. Surprisingly, these shoes weigh almost exactly the same thing. So 14.1 ounces for the 6, 14.3 ounces for the Nano X. So despite the fact that it looks like it's got a lot more to it, it's actually not that much heavier. Now, with the 6, I'm not really sure where the extra weight came from over last year's shoes. So that is 0.6 of an ounce or so heavier than the Metcon 5. I'm not really sure where the weight is coming from because this thing is so similar to the Metcon 5. The Nano X, it's not a mystery. It's heavier than the Nano 9 was as well. There's more to it, right? You add more, of course, it's going to weigh more. So it makes total sense there. But both are in the low 14-ounce range. That's not necessarily a horrible thing, but that's not really a trend we want to see continue indefinitely either. If you think back, the Metcon 4 was like in the mid 11-ounce range. So these things have really gotten heavier since then. And that is amount of weight. You can feel the difference if you're wearing two different shoes and one is 14 ounces and one is 11. You can immediately tell the difference between the two shoes. Other things here, forefoot flexibility side by side. The Nano here is feeling stiffer. It's taking a little more force for me to flex things, but at the end of the day, that's not a huge deal when you're jumping rope or bounding, leaping, sprinting, whatever you're doing. It's plenty fine. This is definitely more flexible though. Maybe because of the flex grooves, and those flex grooves continue in the midsole as well. The other thing with these, what's the heel to toe drop? Everybody always wants to know that. And the answer is, I think both are still 4 millimeter heel to toe drop. I think they're 4 millimeter because the Nano 9 was 4 millimeters, the Metcon 5 was 4 millimeters, and really, both shoes feel, and they have taken a lot of the components from last year's shoe and just carried it forward. They have not published a number for either. I have not seen a published number for the Reebok. I have not seen one for the Metcon. I think they're the same. They feel the same to me, but it's not something that I can necessarily measure directly. So I'm going to say they're both 4 millimeter. And being cross trainers, right, that is what they call relatively low profile. Not a big heel raise like a running shoe or a lifter. It's a little flatter, makes it more versatile, and you can do more things in the shoe. That's just kind of a cross trainer kind of thing. Of course, the big difference between these two shoes, 4 millimeters, if that isn't enough heel raise for you, in the Metcon 6, we have the hyperlifts back again. So this was a feature they added with the Metcon 5. Little, very stiff, firm plastic material. You drop this inside under the removable or the drop-in midsole, and it adds 8 millimeters of additional heel to toe drop. So you take the 4 millimeters of heel to toe drop that's already in there, you add the 8 millimeters, and then you get 12 millimeters of heel to toe drop in the Metcon. So why would you even want heel raise? Well, thrusters, squats, Olympic lifting, anything really where you're getting down and you got to squat deeper, reduces the amount of ankle flexibility that you need and that kind of stuff. And you might say, well, just develop yourself some better ankle flexibility. But the honest, my thought on it is there are limitations in how much ankle flexibility you can develop. There is a limit, I believe. So something like this helps when you want the heel raise. Cool thing about these is you can pop them out when you don't want it, or put them in when you do want it. Just don't lose them. Keep them somewhere you won't forget where they are. The only other complaint I have about these is because this is a relatively low collar, when I put the 8 millimeter hyperlift in, my foot sits so much higher in here, it starts to feel uncomfortable. It feels like there's not enough collar on the shoe. The Nano does not have any sort of drop-in hyperlift, but that collar's so high, if it did, it would fit me, would feel more comfortable, it would feel better. I effectively get what I would call heel slip when I put the hyperlifts in. I feel like I get heel slippage because it's the shape of my heel, it's up too high in the shoe, and the collar's just too low. Not everybody complains about that, though. Some people say I'm crazy. And that's fine, because the fact of the matter is everybody's foot is different width. Your heel may be larger or smaller, or it may go up more or less. All these kind of differences. And that's why I'm always hesitant to give a whole lot of sizing advice. But you really just have to try these, and they don't work for you, send them back, try something else. That's the best advice I can give you there. So we talked about the drop and the hyperlifts. How about noise? Are these noisy, the Nano or the Metcon 6? Well, if you remember a few years back, there was the whole thing with the Metcon squeak. the Metcon 4, the Metcon 3, the Metcon 4XD were all very squeaky shoes because that removable, that drop-in midsole would rub against the interior of the shoe and it would make like a squeaking, scrunching noise every time you walked or took a step. And I had at least 5 pairs between the Metcon 3, Metcon 4, Metcon 4XD. I had at least 5 or 6 pairs. They all squeaked. They fixed it with the 5. The 5 did not have the Metcon squeak. Happy to say the 6 does not have the Metcon squeak, but it does have a loud, noisy heel. So the heel on this, it's rubber. You can see me compressing it, but it's something, I think it's this part is so solid. Like when you're walking, these clip-clop like a pair of lifters, and they're just very noisy shoes when you're walking on a hard surface like concrete, like asphalt, like a wooden floor, like a tile floor. You're walking in the grass, you won't notice, but they make a noticeable clip-clop, and some people don't like that. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't bother me. And I think it's acceptable for what it is for being a firm heel. The Nano, on the other hand, though, you really don't get that clip-clop sensation because this is not as solid, and this is very flexible. This is not as solid. You get a tiny amount of clip-clop if you're on like a wood floor or something like that. I'll put a clip in though. I'll walk on asphalt with the 2 shoes. I'll show you. You'll easily be able to hear the clip-clop of the heel of the 6. You will not hear it for the Nano though. Other than that, both are very quiet and good shoes, good grip, and they are not overly squeaky when they get wet either. So that is a good thing as well. All right, so let's talk fit and sizing and cushioning and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently here, actually show you on foot and talk through it. Not sure if this will work out. We'll give it a shot. At any rate, I'm sure we will hear lots of comments about my hairy legs. So let's dive right into it. Metcon 6 on the right, of course, and Nano on the left. This is a great way to feel the difference. It looks silly, but it's a great way to just tell what are the differences between the 2 shoes. So I love to do this, and I will work out. I will go outside in public this way sometimes, not really somewhere where too many people can see me. But look at the width. I mean, that's the first thing I think is obvious, and hopefully the camera angle is gathering that. But nice and wide. Feels like there's more usable width right up here in the toe box on the Nano. Gone a half size up on the Metcon 6, so it's adequate. And there's a little bit of room to spare, so it's nice and comfortable. It feels great. If I wear these all day, your feet swell when you're on your feet all day and that kind of stuff, so you want to have a little bit of room. When I go in 11 in the Metcon line, whether it be the 5 or the 6, it's just a little bit too tight. And, you know, I have to go a half size up. No problems if I do this, though. Both feel pretty good. And, you know, check out the flexibility on the forefoot of the Nano. Very comfortable, very stretchy. And I think it looks good. It looks sophisticated to me. So the new flex weave or whatever they're calling it, it is stretchy. Got a great pattern on it. Looks good. Tongue is stretchy, nice and comfortable. But this upper is cool, too. Cool literally, right? Because those perforations are so big you can see through them. Can't see necessarily here because I've got on dark colored socks, but you would be able to see your socks through there if I had white socks on. It's got to be more breathable, right? It's ventilation holes where the air can help move through, so it has to be more breathable. Can't really say that I felt the difference, though, to be honest. I've done a lot of hot and sweaty workouts here. August, Florida. I work out in the garage or outside, no air conditioning. Should theoretically make a difference, but it's not necessarily something you could feel, in my opinion. So what about cushioning? Let's talk forefoot first. The Metcon feels like it has slightly more cushion in the forefoot thanks to that dual density midsole that we'll show you here in a little bit. The Nano has less. it feels to me. It definitely feels like less cushion. So as I'm pushing down, I can kind of feel the compression of my foot into the cushion, slightly more in the forefoot on the 6. Heels are about the same, to be honest. There's a tiny amount of cushion, tiny amount of cushion, but these are not lifters, right? The heel is not completely solid. There is some cushion, but again, shifting my weight, kind of feeling my foot compress into the cushion, the heels feel spot on the same to me. That is subjective. I don't have a way to measure that officially, but both have a very stable, very solid heel with the tiniest little bit of cushion. And that, of course, is what makes these so great for lifting weights. And it doesn't matter if you're doing bodybuilding, powerlifting, or CrossFit, functional fitness style weightlifting, right, with some Olympic lifts and all kinds of stuff mixed in. They're just great because of that heel. Very stable. Looking from the back, I think you can see the width. Both shoes, they've got the diamond-shaped heel on the 6, but you also have a nice, very nice wide heel on the Nano as well. Forefoot flexibility, both are great. There's nothing really to complain about. The all rubber outsoles, great grip, great traction, very flat, a lot of contact area on both. And overall, these are not bad shoes. Just remember, you got to have the proper expectations around the cushioning in the shoe. All right, so let's talk in the gym. How do these work? What can I do with these? Are they really cross trainers? Are they good for running? All that stuff that you want to know. So cat's out of the bag. These are awesome weightlifting shoes. So whether you're powerlifting, bodybuilding, CrossFit, functional fitness, Olympic lifting, both are excellent weightlifting shoes. Why? Super solid, stable heel. They don't have a ton of heel raise. We talked about that, but you can do quite well regardless. Of course, you can drop the hyperlift in on the 6, but both are excellent for weightlifting. And that was actually why I originally got into all these shoes. I was like, hey, I'm tired of lifting in my running shoes because it sucks. And that's what led me to cross trainers. So very good there. How about running? So Reebok says the Nano X, the Nano 10 is runnable. They've made up a word. And the Metcon 6, of course, you're supposed to be able to run in this as well. Well, you can. Of course you can run in them, right? Because they've got flexibility, they've got some cushion. But honestly, the heels are so solid and stable and just not very cushioned. Your heel striking, when you're sprinting, for me, it's not so bad. When I'm sprinting, I'm running fast, I'm up on my toes. There's that little bit of cushion, and that kind of helps absorb the shock. But I'll be honest, when I'm heel striking in both shoes, those very solid, stable heels, even in the decoupled outsole and midsole of the Nano X, like all that shock goes right up into my knees and my hip. And I'm an old guy, if I haven't mentioned that yet in this clip. I'm 47, I'm 195 pounds. When I run on asphalt, I can't really do it in cross trainers. It's just too much shock, too much impact. So for running workouts, I recommend running shoes with cushion. These will do in a pinch. Short runs, I don't expect you to wear, I know I certainly wouldn't wear 2 different pairs of shoes for the same wad or anything like that. They'll get the job done, but I think these are better for weightlifting and other stuff, jumping rope, box jump, stuff like that. Neither makes a fantastic running shoe, in my opinion. How about rope climbs? I don't know. I don't have a rope to climb. Just looking at it, it feels like this can't be beat, this gigantic rope wrap on this thing. I mean, this has to be a stellar rope climbing shoe. You've got the Rope Pro here. I'll bet you this works fine as well. But unfortunately, I cannot give you an educated opinion on how these perform for rope climbing. Later this year, I may add a rope, though, to my home gym setup and try to actually do some sort of comparison there. All right, so there you go. That was Nike Metcon 6 versus Reebok Nano X, Nano 10. What is the verdict? Well, to be honest, this lineup, this matchup doesn't feel all that different from Metcon 5 versus Nano 9. They've carried forward a lot of the same features from last year's shoes, both in the Nike and the Reebok, and the strengths, to me, pretty much feel the same. I like the new upper on the 6. I like the breathability. I like the toughness, but I also like the new stretchy, comfortable upper on the Reebok Nano X. It is a very nice, good improvement over what they had last year. Both have gained weight, but The Nano feels bulkier because it's got more up around your heel, including the cushion here in the collar. So if you want a more streamlined, minimized feel, you might want to go the Metcon 6, even though both weigh nearly the same thing. In my opinion, the fact that the Metcon 6 has slightly more cushion in the forefoot and includes those hyperlifts for extra heel raise, I feel like it is still the more versatile shoe, and it has an advantage for functional fitness and CrossFit style workouts. Having said that, you can't go wrong with either, in my opinion. They are both excellent because they have been iterated on over and over and over for many years. So that's our review. If you found this useful, please like, please subscribe. We post new shoe reviews regularly. Thank you. Have a good day.